Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are talking about us, about all the weird, baffling things we do that just don't seem to make any logical sense. We obsess over hobbies, we value things that are outrageously expensive and totally impractical, and we follow these strange, unwritten rules. It all feels so irrational, right? But what if it's not? What if there's a secret logic to it all? A hidden game that our minds are playing and we don't even know it? No, really. Think about it for a second. We humans are just walking bundles of contradictions. Why do we do things that seem to work against our own best interests? It's a puzzle. But what if all this weirdness, all these so-called irrationalities, are actually signs of something much, much deeper? A really sophisticated strategy that's always running in the background. Let's look at a few classic examples. So first up, there's the mystery of obsessive passion. You see it in people like Picasso, who just couldn't stop creating art. 50,000 works. It's mind-boggling. We see this and we're amazed by it. We kind of wish we had that same fire for, going to the gym or finishing that project at work. But why do these passions even exist? And why do they grab hold of some people for one thing and not another? Okay, and then there's this one, our absolute fascination with stuff that has almost no practical purpose. We love to surround ourselves with beautiful things whose main job is, well, to just be beautiful. Why are we willing to spend a fortune on things that don't really do anything? I mean, just look at this. A Rolex is objectively a worse timepiece than a cheap Casio. It's less accurate and it's way more fragile. So you're paying thousands and thousands of dollars for something that performs worse. It makes no sense. And it's not just watches, right? It's high fashion, it's fine art, it's expensive jewelry. What is going on here? And here's our last puzzle for now, the simple, almost childish rule of dibs. You throw your coat on a chair at the movies, and that seat is yours. You grab the last donut from the box, and it's yours. It doesn't matter if the person next to you is stronger or bigger or wanted it more. This incredibly simple, totally unwritten law has this amazing power to stop fights before they even start. Why? Okay, let's start to unpack this. The key to solving all of these puzzles is realizing that we might be asking the why question in the wrong way. We're looking at our conscious thoughts, our feelings, but the real answers, they're usually one level deeper, hiding in the rules of a game our minds were built to play. The physicist Richard Feynman once had this great moment where an interviewer asked him why magnets repel each other. And he basically went on this brilliant rant explaining that every why question has layers. See, you can explain how your aunt slipped on the ice, her foot went out from under her, but explaining why ice is slippery in the first place, that's a much deeper, more fundamental question. And the same thing is true for human behavior. So this is the key distinction we need to make. There's the proximate answer. That's the immediate reason, the one that's all about our thoughts and feelings. Why do you want that fancy watch? Well, because I think it's pretty. And that's true. But it's not the full story. The ultimate answer, the functional one, asks a different question. What does that behavior actually achieve? What's the purpose of finding that watch pretty? That's the level where the real secrets are hiding. And this brings us right to the core idea of this whole explainer, hidden games. These are the ancient strategic problems that our minds evolved to solve. We're not sitting there consciously thinking about them, but our behaviors, our beliefs, even our tastes in music or art, there are the clever solutions that our brains have developed over thousands and thousands of years. So let's just reframe this whole thing. Our brains are not broken calculators making dumb, irrational choices. No way. They are incredibly powerful supercomputers, but they're running a different kind of software than we realize. They're optimizing for a completely different set of goals, a different scoreboard. And what are those goals? What are the points in this hidden game? Well, we can call them primary rewards. These are the fundamental things that we are hardwired to want. They're the currencies of survival and reproduction, the things our evolution has taught us are valuable so we don't have to learn it from scratch. And these include all the obvious stuff, right? Like food and health and safety. But they also include the really important social stuff like sex, prestige, power, and building trust and strong relationships. Our brains are constantly, quietly calculating how our every move can get us more of these primary rewards, even when we think we're just picking out a watch or deciding who gets the last parking spot. All right, so now we've got the toolkit: hidden games, ultimate explanations, and primary rewards. Let's go back and finally solve those puzzles we started with. First up, the amazing power of dibs. Why does this simple, kind of arbitrary rule stop so many arguments? On the surface, the proximate answer is, well, it just feels fair. But what's the ultimate, functional reason it works so well? The real answer comes from game theory, from a classic idea called the hawk-dove game. The problem's simple. Two people want the same thing. They can both fight like hawks, which is dangerous and wastes energy, or they can be peaceful like doves. The best outcome for the group is if one plays hawk and the other plays dove, so they avoid a fight completely. The I was here first rule? It's just a dead simple, arbitrary way to decide who should be the hawk and who should be the dove without anyone getting hurt. And get this, it's not just a human thing. Far from it. A biologist named Nicholas Davies watched these speckled wood butterflies fighting over little patches of sunlight on the forest floor. And he noticed something incredible. The butterfly that already owned the sunspot won the fight every single time. But the fight wasn't a real fight. It was just this short, symbolic little dance. It wasn't about who was stronger. It was just a quick, conventional signal that said, hey, I was here first, and the other butterfly would just leave. That's exactly what we're doing. We are just like those butterflies. The I was here first rule isn't about some grand cosmic justice. Nope. It's a shared, unspoken agreement that solves the problem of who should back down, letting us avoid a pointless, costly conflict that nobody actually wants. The primary reward we're getting here? Safety, and saving our energy for things that matter more. Okay, puzzle number 2. What's the ultimate reason for buying a Rolex that's less useful than a Casio? Why do we desire these beautiful, expensive, but ultimately impractical things? The answer lies in another hidden game, the game of signaling. The best way to understand this is to look at a peacock's tail. It's gorgeous, but it's also a massive burden. It's heavy, it makes it hard to fly, it screams, "Eat me," to predators. But here's the twist. That's exactly why it's attractive to peahens. It's what's called a costly signal. Only a really healthy, really fit peacock can afford to waste so much energy on such a ridiculous handicap. In the exact same way, a Rolex is a costly signal. Only someone with a ton of resources can afford to burn that much cash on something so functionally mediocre. Now, for a costly signal to actually work, it has to follow a very specific logic. First, it has to point to some hidden desirable quality like wealth or health. Second, to be believable, the signal itself has to be genuinely wasteful. It has to cost real time or money or energy. And third, that wastefulness makes it incredibly hard for someone who doesn't have that quality to fake it, which leads to the final, crucial rule. If the signal ever becomes cheap or easy to get, it completely loses its value. A knockoff Rolex signals nothing, which is why we don't truly desire it. And once you see this, you see it everywhere. It explains our tastes in art and fashion. It even explains those obsessive passions we started with. Committing your whole life to one thing, like Picasso did, that's the ultimate costly signal of mastery. It's almost impossible to fake. It even explains weird historical trends, like why in some eras pale skin was seen as beautiful and in others a deep tan was. In farming societies, being pale was a costly signal you didn't have to work in the fields. But after the Industrial Revolution, when poor people worked in factories, a tan became a costly signal that you could afford to take luxurious vacations. It's all just a hidden game of signaling status. So we've seen how our strangest behaviors are often these brilliant solutions to hidden social games. They help us avoid fights, and they help us signal our value to other people, all to score those primary rewards like safety, status, and connection. So the really big question becomes, what does this all mean for you in your life? I think the biggest takeaway here is that you should probably give your own brain a little more credit. Your preferences, your gut feelings, your sense of fairness, they're not just random noise or bugs in your mental software. They're features. They're the elegant output of an incredibly powerful, unconscious strategist that is constantly helping you navigate the fantastically complex social world we all live in. And that really leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Now that you have this new lens, start looking for the hidden games in your own life. When you choose what music to listen to, are you just enjoying the sound, or are you also playing a game of signaling your identity? When you choose a career, what primary rewards are you really trying to get? And when you choose your friends, what are the unspoken rules, the hidden games that build the foundation of that trust? The games are everywhere once you start to look.